Hello everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 428, The Shadow in the Fog. Intermediate. It was a cold October night in the small village of Blackwood. The fog was thick, covering the streets like a heavy blanket. Emily, a young woman of 22, walked home from her job at the bakery. She liked her work, but the late hours made her nervous. The village was quiet, and the only sound was her footsteps on the wet stones. Emily pulled her coat tighter. The fog made it hard to see more than a few steps ahead. She knew the way home well, down the narrow road, past the old church and through the woods. But tonight felt different. There was a strange feeling in the air, like someone was watching her. As she passed the church, she heard a noise. It was soft at first, like a whisper carried by the wind. She stopped and listened. Nothing. It's just my imagination, she told herself. But then it came again, louder this time. A low, slow sound like someone dragging something heavy across the ground. Her heart started to beat faster. She looked around, but the fog hid everything. "Hello?" she called, her voice shaking. No answer. She began to walk faster, her boots clicking on the stones. The sound followed her, growing closer. She could feel it now, a cold presence behind her, like icy fingers brushing her neck. Emily reached the woods. The trees stood tall and dark, their branches twisting into the fog. She knew she was almost home, just 10 more minutes. But the sound didn't stop. It was behind her, then beside her, then all around. She broke into a run, her breath loud in her ears. Suddenly she tripped. Her foot caught on a root and she fell onto the hard, wet ground. Pain shot through her knee, but she didn't care. She turned to look back through the fog. She saw it, a shadow. It wasn't a person, not exactly. It was tall and thin with long arms that stretched too far. Its eyes glowed faintly like two pale lights in the dark. Emily screamed and scrambled to her feet. She ran again faster than she ever had. The shadow didn't make a sound now, but she knew it was there. She could feel its cold eyes watching her, waiting. Her house was close, and she could see the faint light of her porch through the trees. She burst through the door and slammed it shut, locking it with trembling hands. Her chest hurt from running, and her knee was bleeding. She leaned against the door, listening. Silence. No dragging sound. No whispered. Had she lost it? Then a knock. Soft, slow, deliberate. Knock, knock, knock. Emily froze. She didn't dare look through the window. Her phone was on the table. She grabbed it and called her friend Tom. "Please come quick," she whispered. "Something's outside." Tom arrived 20 minutes later, his car headlights cutting through the fog. He knocked on the door, calling her name. Emily opened it, tears in her eyes. "It's gone," she said, "but it was real." Tom searched around the house. He found nothing. No footprints, no signs. "Maybe it was the fog playing tricks," he said, trying to calm her. But Emily knew better. She had seen those eyes. That night she couldn't sleep. Every creak of the house made her jump. At midnight she heard it again, the dragging sound, faint but clear, coming from the woods. She looked out her window. The fog was still thick, but there in the distance were those glowing eyes, staring back at her. Emily never walked home alone again. Some say it was just a story, a trick of her mind, but the villagers still talk about the shadow in the fog and the eyes that watch from the dark. Vocabulary notes. Fog. Definition. A thick cloud of tiny water droplets near the ground that makes it hard to see. Example. The fog was thick, covering the streets like a heavy blanket. Explanation. In the story, the fog creates a spooky atmosphere and hides things from Emily, making her feel scared and unsure. Similar words: mist, a lighter version of fog, often less thick, e.g., the mist made the trees look ghostly. Haze, a thin layer of smoke or dust in the air, e.g., a haze hung over the village at dawn. Smog, dirty fog caused by pollution, e.g., the city was covered in smog, not fog. Whisper, definition, a soft, quiet way of speaking or a faint sound, often secretive or mysterious. Example, it was soft at first, like a whisper carried by the wind. Explanation, the whisper adds to the creepy feeling, suggesting something unknown is near Emily. It's not loud, so it makes her question what she's hearing. Similar words: murmur, a low continuous sound, often unclear, e.g., she heard a murmur in the distance. Mutter, a quiet complaint or grumble, e.g., he muttered something under his breath. Hiss, a sharp, quiet sound like a snake, e.g., the wind hissed through the trees. Trembling, definition, shaking slightly, usually because of fear, cold, or nervousness. Example, she locked it with trembling hands. Explanation, Emily's hands tremble because she's terrified after seeing the shadow. It shows how strong her fear is. Similar words: shivering, shaking from cold or fear, e.g., she was shivering in the icy wind. Quivering, a small, quick shaking, often from emotion, e.g., his lips were quivering with anger. Shuddering, a sudden shake, usually from something unpleasant, e.g., she shuddered at the thought of the shadow. Faint, definition, weak, not strong or clear, can describe sounds, lights, or feelings. Example, she could see the faint light of her porch through the trees. Explanation, the faint light means it's dim and hard to see, adding to the tension as Emily runs home. Similar words: dim, not bright or clear, e.g., the dim street lights barely lit the road. Weak, lacking strength or power, e.g., his voice was weak from shouting. Soft, gentle or quiet, often pleasant, e.g., a soft glow came from the window. Scramble, definition, to move or climb quickly but with difficulty, often using hands and feet. Example, Emily screamed and scrambled to her feet. Explanation, after falling, Emily gets up fast in a messy, desperate way because she's scared of the shadow chasing her. Similar words: crawl, to move slowly on hands and knees, e.g., she had to crawl through the mud. Clamber, to climb awkwardly over something, e.g., he clambered over the fence. Rush, to move very quickly, often without care, e.g., she rushed to escape the danger. Story written by Grok 3 AI. Image created by Designer AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you.